In July of 2025, Nissan's own legal filings admitted something no automaker wants to put in writing. An engine they had spent over 20 years developing, an engine they called a genuine world first, was starting fires. 4 of them, according to the company's own disclosure, over 1,000 warranty claims, 444,000 vehicles recalled. The engine at the center of it wasn't some budget economy motor cut to the bone to save money. It was the opposite. It was Nissan's proudest engineering achievement in a generation, a technology competitors had chased for decades and never brought to market. So how does a company's greatest engineering triumph become its most dangerous liability? These are the 10 reasons Nissan's most advanced engine ever built keeps catching fire. Number 10, an idea that took 20 years to become real for a reason. The concept behind variable compression sounds simple in a sentence. Every internal combustion engine has a fixed compression ratio, a single fixed relationship between the volume of the cylinder at the top and bottom of the piston's stroke. High compression extracts more efficiency from a given amount of fuel, but risks knock under heavy load. Low compression is safer under load, but sacrifices efficiency at cruise. Every engine ever built has had to pick one number and live with the compromise. Nissan's engineers set out to build an engine that didn't have to pick, one that could physically alter its own compression ratio in real time, shifting continuously between roughly 8-1 under hard acceleration and 14-1 while cruising. Multiple automakers had explored variable compression concepts going back to the 1980s. All of them abandoned the idea before production. The mechanical complexity required to make a piston's effective stroke length change while the engine is running thousands of times a minute without the entire assembly tearing itself apart was considered by many engineers to be functionally impossible to productionize reliably. Nissan spent over 2 decades and, by some estimates, hundreds of millions of dollars proving it wasn't impossible. It was just extraordinarily unforgiving of any imperfection. Number 9, a mechanism with more moving parts than anyone else's engine. The system that makes variable compression physically possible in Nissan's VC turbo design is called a multi-link system, and it replaces the simple, direct connection between piston and crankshaft that every conventional engine relies on with an entire additional layer of mechanical translation. Instead of a connecting rod running straight from piston to crankpin, the VC turbo uses what are called A-links, C-links, and L-links, working together in a coordinated linkage that physically changes the geometry of the piston's travel based on engine load. An electric actuator adjusts the position of this linkage continuously, and every single link in that chain rides on its own dedicated set of precision bearings. Bearings that a conventional engine simply doesn't need because it doesn't have this extra mechanical layer at all. Every additional bearing surface is another opportunity for wear, another surface that has to survive under load for the life of the engine. And another point of potential failure that a traditional connecting rod design never had to account for in the first place. Number 8, bearings asked to do a job nobody had asked bearings to do before. Conventional engine bearings support components moving in a relatively predictable, repetitive pattern. A crankshaft journal spinning at a consistent radius. A connecting rod pivoting through a fixed arc. The bearings inside the VC Turbo's multi-link system are supporting components whose geometry is actively changing while the engine runs, as the actuator shifts the compression ratio in response to throttle input. That means the load angles, the pressures, and the motion patterns those bearings experience are more variable and less predictable than what a traditional engine bearing was ever designed to tolerate. Engineering a bearing to survive one consistent type of load for hundreds of thousands of miles is a solved problem with decades of established precedent behind it. Engineering a bearing to survive a constantly shifting, actuator-driven load pattern is a much newer and much less proven category of problem, and the field data suggests Nissan's solution didn't fully solve it. Number 7, the actuator that has to work perfectly every single time. The compression ratio doesn't shift gradually over the course of a drive. It shifts continuously, adjusting in response to how hard the driver is pressing the accelerator at any given moment, sometimes multiple times within a single acceleration event. That means the electric actuator controlling the multi-link geometry is cycling constantly, thousands of times over the course of a single highway commute. And every one of those cycles places dynamic load on the linkage and its bearings. A conventional engine's internal geometry is fixed. It doesn't have an actuator that needs to function correctly every single time the engine is under load in order to avoid abnormal internal stress. The VC turbo does. Any degradation in that actuator's response time, any wear in the linkage that changes how precisely it holds a commanded position, translates directly into additional stress on the bearing surfaces supporting it, stress that compounds with every mile the vehicle covers. Number 6, a bearing failure that becomes a fire in a way most engine failures don't. When a conventional connecting rod bearing fails, the result is typically catastrophic mechanical damage, a knocking noise, a seized engine, an expensive repair. It's rarely a fire risk on its own. What separates the VC turbo failures is the specific combination of a failed bearing inside a highly loaded, oil-lubricated mechanical assembly sitting close to hot engine components under the hood, and a turbocharged engine where exhaust side temperatures already run extremely high. When a bearing failure in this linkage generates enough friction and heat, and that heat has a path to oil or other combustible material nearby, the conditions exist for something more dangerous than a simple mechanical failure. Nissan's own filings connect the recall specifically to fire risk, not just to performance degradation or noise, which tells you the failure mode isn't a gradual loss of power the driver might notice and address. It's a scenario where the underlying bearing wear can escalate into something that endangers the vehicle and the people in it. Number 5, the recall numbers that kept growing. Nissan's initial July 2025 recall covered 444,000 vehicles, including the Rogue, the Altima, and the Infiniti QX50 and QX55, the primary vehicles built around the VC turbo engine family. The company's own filings at that time disclosed more than 1,000 warranty claims tied to the bearing issue and at least 4 confirmed fire incidents. That would be a significant recall on its own. It wasn't the end of the story. By early 2026, Nissan issued additional recalls that expanded the scope further, and the company extended the powertrain warranty on the affected engine family to 10 years and 120,000 miles across the entire affected population, a warranty extension of that scale being one of the clearest signals an automaker can send that it has lost confidence in a component's ability to survive its originally intended service life without intervention. Number 4, an engine built to be the only one of its kind, for better and worse. No other automaker has successfully brought a variable compression engine to mass production at this scale. That means Nissan has no direct competitors' field data to compare against, no industry-wide baseline for how this category of technology behaves after 5 or 10 years of real-world ownership across hundreds of thousands of vehicles. Every other entry on this list, direct injection carbon buildup, turbo bearing wear, timing chain stretch, has been observed across multiple manufacturers, which means the industry as a whole has accumulated shared knowledge about how to mitigate those specific failure modes. The VC Turbo's failure modes are largely Nissan's to diagnose alone, without the benefit of a competitor having already made and learned from the same mistakes. Being first is exactly what made the achievement remarkable, and it's exactly what left Nissan without anyone else's hard-won field lessons to draw on when the bearings started failing in the real world instead of the test lab. Number 3, an engine asked to do 2 jobs that pull in opposite directions. The entire premise of variable compression is optimizing for 2 competing goals simultaneously: maximum efficiency at cruise and maximum power under load, by physically changing the engine's geometry to suit each condition. A conventional engine's compression ratio is a single, fixed compromise between those goals, chosen once at the design stage and never revisited while the engine runs. That fixed compromise is mechanically simple, and critically, it means every internal component only ever has to survive one consistent set of operating conditions for the life of the engine. The VC Turbo's components have to survive 2 very different operating regimes: low compression under boost, high compression at cruise, and the constant transition between them, which means the bearings, the linkage, and every supporting component are being asked to remain durable across a much wider range of mechanical conditions than a traditional engine's internals ever have to tolerate. Number 2, a turbocharger stacked on top of an already unproven mechanism. The VC Turbo isn't just a variable compression engine, it's a variable compression engine with forced induction layered on top, combining 2 demanding technologies into a single package. Turbocharging on its own already introduces elevated heat, elevated cylinder pressures, and elevated stress on internal components compared to a naturally aspirated design, stresses that have caused well-documented reliability issues across the industry on far simpler engine architectures. Adding that layer of stress on top of a fundamentally new and mechanically unproven multi-link compression system means the VC Turbo's bearings aren't just absorbing the unusual loads created by the variable geometry itself. They're absorbing those loads on top of the elevated heat and pressure that turbocharging adds to any engine, a combination that gives the design very little margin for any single element of the system to underperform even slightly. Number 1, an achievement built to prove a point, not to survive an average commute quietly for 20 years. Every engine on this list of failures shares a common root cause somewhere in cost pressure, regulatory compliance, or corner cut during manufacturing. The VC Turbo's root cause is different, and in some ways more uncomfortable to sit with. Nissan wasn't cutting a corner. The company spent over 2 decades and enormous engineering resources chasing something no other manufacturer had achieved, purely because it represented a genuine technical frontier, a way to solve the efficiency versus power trade-off that had defined internal combustion engines since their invention. That ambition produced something remarkable on paper and in a controlled test environment. What it didn't produce, at least not yet, is a mechanism proven to survive the unpredictable, imperfect, decade-spanning reality of ordinary ownership. The short trips, the cold starts, the stretched maintenance intervals, the way real drivers actually use a car, rather than the way an engineer tests one. The VC turbo remains the only production variable compression engine in the world, and that fact alone makes it either the most significant engineering breakthrough of its era, or a cautionary tale about the gap between what an engine can do in a lab and what it can survive doing for 200,000 miles in someone's driveway. As of early 2026, with recalls still expanding and the warranty extended to a decade, it isn't entirely clear yet which one of those two stories this engine is going to end up being. If you want to understand how a completely different kind of engineering ambition led to a completely different kind of failure, the next video covers that story.